Steve and I get ready to tackle an intermediate pan gasket replacement on this 2008 Wrangler, as well as replacing the oil pan. The oil pan's leaking too. It's seen better days. It's getting kind of rusty. Bought a new one, so we're going to toss that on. This Jeep has a 3.8 in it, and we're going to tear into it right now.
Pull the drain plug out. It's a 16 millimeter or a 5.8. What do they have? And it's hot, of course. Tony just came in with it, but we got to get motivated here. We're changing the oil. We're changing the oil pan gasket and the intermediate cover gasket to slow a leak down that we have, and we'll get into that.
Are we pulling both off now, or just the lower one first?
But we got to take the pan down first, so we can start cracking those. So we're going to start loosening 10 millimeter bolts on the pan. And we have our special guest, Brian, here tonight.
Yeah, Brian's appeared many times in the video.
I came here to get paid tonight. They didn't have a check for me, so I figured, well, why not work?
Whoa. I'll pay you Tuesday for an oil pan today.
Let me get the oil filter wrench.
Ah, damn it. Watch out for the hot oil.
Yeah, it's hot.
See if I can do that again. See, if Tony was here at 5 o'clock, that oil wouldn't be so hot.
Yeah. Alright, so we got all those loose, went all around the pan.
So we get the oil filter wrench on it. We're just going to crack it loose, and after the oil's done draining, we'll move the pan over. So I got it hand loose right now. So we'll get the pan over here and then crack it loose and then change it. Nice, easy filter to access.
We're working our way around the intermediate pan. They're 10 millimeter bolts.
They're different bolts, I think.
Are they different?
Oh, these are the intermediate ones?
They might be,
Are they 10 mil?
they are 10 mil, but it's a different bolt. It's hot.
We got the drain plug back in. We're just going to snug that up. The pan came with a new one, I believe.
It looks like there's
It
a
did.
sealant on those bolts.
Ain't no stinking sealant on these bolts, all right?
Okay. What's that white stuff?
What just dripped on my forehead, Tony?
AC
Oh,
condenses water.
okay.
Sure, it wasn't a squirrel?
So what we're gonna do now is gonna go all around this intermediate pan and loosen all
Just
those
so
bolts.
Brian won't get oil dripped on him.
Yeah.
Let me move the pan out of the way. We're gonna take this cover down off of the transmission. It's almost like a inspection cover. It's kind of heavy aluminum though. The 15 millimeter bolts. I'm gonna take them all out and get this cover down, and that's gonna expose the rest of the intermediate cover for the oil pan. Kind of a goofy flex here set up in here, but it's taking it out. I got one left right here. Let's see if I can get in here with this. Okay, sounds good.
So, do you see any more bolts for that?
There's one over here on the corner.
All right, let me knock the oil pan off now.
Alright, hold on for a second.
I'm gonna knock the oil pan off.
Yeah, leave it in there.
Got all the bolts done, Ryan?
All but a nut on the front.
No, all the oil pan bolts are all in here?
Yep, just do a double check, Tony.
So on the intermediate pan, before we remove the oil pan. We left one bolt in right there, and there's like a couple of nuts on the front. So we left one on the left, took the one off on the right. So now we're gonna break free the oil pan.
And Tony bought a new oil pan, so we're gonna break the oil pan free from the intermediate cover, and then we'll be able to clean our gasket material up off of the intermediate cover.
You have to leave a couple nuts on that intermediate pan because you don't want it crashing down on you.
Yeah, all right, here we go. Boy, it's stuck on there. I have to get something to go up in between it. All right, we got a little scraper. We're gonna try and find a spot to get it in to start maybe separating this cover. There's a spot right there.
Up there it goes.
It's yours? It's mine.
Okay.
Okay, so here's an interesting fact. Yeah. Look how much oil is left in
Yeah.
the oil pan
Yeah.
when you do an oil change. It's really good if you can get a little bit of pitch on one of these Jeeps
Yeah, huh?
to the, so the front end's raised just a little bit,
Yep.
and you'll be able to get an extra half a quart out of the pan.
It's usually why I use ramps because it gives you that pitch. So we just
No.
took off the nut off the front of the intermediate pan, and there's one more we needed to remove out back.
And if we could get a hand on it. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a gasket.
Steve, can you get the intermediate? Because it's coming down.
Really?
Yeah. Can you just put a hand on it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. You're such a kind helper.
All right.
And you should be able to pull that down now.
Is it coming?
Oh, we get some attachment points of these
What?
transmission
No,
lines.
these aren't
Are they
right.
free?
Yeah, you're free from those. It's just stuck.
That's free. It's stuck to the line.
Oh, you missed one, Brian. Brian.
I didn't miss
missed
one.
one.
I left it there on purpose.
Well, take that one out on purpose right now, right?
Yeah, so take this.
I just wanted to test your ability.
That's all. I'm just making sure I'm paying attention.
Hey, who has more nose hair, Steve or Brian?
More nose.
Here.
Oh, I just did.
All right, this thing is connected here. And, all right, Brian, you're right, buddy. Can I put a bolt on this thing? Tony, get over here with the light.
Yep.
This thing is hot, and it is stuck.
On the
On
bracket. So we have to pull that bracket out?
Yeah.
Is there like a little...
You gotta get the little pry bar. Can you put the light so I can see it? You know those tools I use for taking button plugs out, Brian? I think that might work.
Can you see now?
No. Oh.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Hey, good. Didn't break anything.
Nice.
Came off. Okay.
Let's put 2 oil pan contact points in
So you can have twice the leak in your Jeep.
just in case the first one doesn't leak.
We'll get him with that leak. And now we get going on.
All right, so we're gonna dry this all down. And this gasket's coming off, so we're gonna hit it with our scraper and get that thing to loosen up to come down. And we should be able to peel this gasket right down.
Yeah, and then we get a new gasket. They sell a new gasket for the intermediate
Tom.
pan, but the oil pan gets RTV'd, and we'll show you how to do that.
All right, we get this one down, and we're gonna wipe all of our surfaces down nice and clean. And it's nice, it's got some studs sticking down, so to keep it aligned, the ones in the front, so you'll be able to push the gasket up and it should hold itself in place. There's also little nipples on the gasket here that'll push up in place and lock it into place. And if we're having any issues with it sticking, we're gonna put a thin coat of grease on it, and then when we go to tighten it down, the grease comes out the sides, so we know it's tightened evenly.
And when you put the grease on it, you have slippery nipples.
Yeah, there you go.
No, Tony, once you take a vacation at
I
your
will.
6 o'clock arrival here, we got all the time in the world.
So what we're doing now is this, Brian is scraping away the old gasket material, the old RTV, from the bottom of the intermediate plate. This is where the oil pan fastened too.
RTV sounds like a technical term that Ted Kennedy once used.
We're using urethane, babe.
Yeah, we're gonna use urethane on this. right, so Brian and I are going to clean this up, and we'll get back to you in a minute. So as soon as the camera stopped rolling, Brian sits down, hands me all my tools back, and this is what really goes on behind the scenes here.
Steve's still working.
Steve's
I
still
need help
working,
untangling this, okay?
and I'm on the oil pan getting this gasket stuff off. This is a little gasket removal tool Steve has. The thing works the balls. Love using it.
In the oil pan intermediate cover gasket kit, they gave us an O-ring for the suction tube to 13 millimeter. We're just gonna pull this down and we'll change the O-ring on it. It's just got one bolt. And you know, we didn't disturb this, but you know, Brian was saying, you know, the vehicle's 12 years old and we're right here. You know what? So we might as well. They gave us one in the kit. Let's use it. You're making a mess. And here's the O-ring right here. So we'll pop that off and we got the new one.
I just cleaned the other side of this intermediate pan as well, so that's all set.
After all that, let's hope it's the right size.
I didn't even say that.
Yeah. Okay, so we got the new one.
Nice and oily.
Yeah, it's all oiled up. Tube's nice and clean, you know. So now, fortunately, you can't really screw this up putting it back on. So Tony says, because the bolt aligns it. So we're gonna inspect the tube, make sure there's no debris in here. The tube's nice and clean, the screen's nice and clean. You know, if you had any, you know, charcoal looking stuff in there because the oil wasn't changed, you could blow down through the back of the tube. You could soak this in solvent overnight. But we're good, this one's nice and clean. We're gonna bolt this one back up in place. So just run our finger down into the hole here a little bit. It's nice and clean, there's no debris. And catch our bolt.
What size bolt was that, do you know?
13.
13? 13 mil?
Yeah, 13 mil.
It sounds like a heavy 13 mil to me.
I'm stretching, man.
Making old man noises.
Okay, all right, let me take that up. I got it with the ratchet. I'm sure Tony knows the torque spec offhand and he'll give it to you. And we're gonna torque it with elbow torque. And we know we're gonna be good.
So is elbow torque for this just a or
It's with that.
all right,
Okay.
good.
All right, Tony's got all his cover all cleaned up, which is great. And we're gonna go and put these little fancy tools they gave us. Gave us these fancy pins.
Spread four out on
So-
the sides, right?
Brian's gonna show you how to install these. Aren't you, Brian?
Does that have a slotted head on it?
You thread them in?
You usually have a small.
No, they don't. Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they do. I got a nice screwdriver out. Oh,
I
yeah.
got this. Right
Okay.
here. Sure that-
So what's the purpose of these, Brian? To align the gasket going back on?
Yeah, so these are super handy
Yeah.
because what it does is you position, you install four of these, and then you push the gasket up
Yep.
into it,
Holds it in place.
and then it holds the gasket, and then you can push the actual intermediate.
Pan on.
Yeah,
And then you can untwist these once everything's in place, correct?
once you get a couple of bolts started,
Yeah.
you just take them out.
And we'll show you how they, we'll show you how they work.
Some guys like to put these on dry. You're not going to urethane or silicone this or anything. I like to put a thin coat of grease on it. So when Brian torques this tonight, it's going to show the grease is going to just ooze out the crack a little bit, so we know we have an even tightening and the gasket is tightening down flat. So this is gonna make sure that everything is snug and we know it's gonna be sealed. And I'm just using a thin coat. And what we'll do is we'll put this on just this side. This is the way the gasket goes back up. And then we're gonna put a thin coat on this side here, on this side of the pan. And that'll sandwich it in. And then after everything's tightened down, you'll just take a rag and you'll just go around the edge of it because it's all exposed. And we can go right around the edge and then wipe the excess off. You'll never even see the grease, but you're gonna know that it's been tightened down evenly. We've got the, I need a rag. I want to dry this one more time. Kind of want this surface dry. It's pretty close to being dry, but you got a little oil residue over here.
We scraped all that off, right?
No, I cleaned it. Yeah, it's all
Okay.
cleaned. And I scraped all the corners where the silicone was sticking out and stuff like that. So, no, it's all dry. Everything in the back, so I'm comfortable with it. Okay. You know our gasket has the big wide flat spot over here. So let's get this going up. He's got one here. Push this one. Line that one up there. And then they go past a certain point. It's like a little arrow thing.
Yep.
Really cool.
I was wondering what those
You
work
want to
around.
position it around the two studs that stick out of the front, too, so that you're not pushing and damaging the.
So now the gasket, I mean the grease that we put in, is helping us stick this thing right to the block. Okay, and now we're gonna go grease up the other side and we're gonna get the intermediate cover on. And they're giving you enough room where your intermediate cover should go up in place and click as well. And now we'll be able to catch all the bolts. So Brian's gonna hold these transmission lines out of the way down a little bit because that's what caught on that stud right there. Where my thumb is, it pushes on top there and holds the training lines in place. We're going to take it down. It was just kind of gigging us a little bit, but we got past it. A little help here.
Here's
Oh,
There you go.
Okay. Hold on. Now, don't go all the way up yet. Okay. Try to do it evenly.
There
There
you
we
go.
go.
Sweet.
All right,
Alright, so
I'm gonna
hold that
hold
up.
it, yeah. Brian's gonna catch some bolts, but these studs, if you put the light on here, if these were a little tighter, then it would make it a little tighter for us, but we got some extra hands in here. Brian's gonna catch a bolt on that front corner and one on the back corner over here, and then we'll be able to let this loose and then he can snug up all the bolts. We're gonna run these up. We're gonna start them all, snug them all up with the impact driver just so they touch. And then we're gonna hand torque them. And we'll come back to you after we have them all in and we'll show you how to torque them. Brian's taking the plastic alignment studs out that we got, the tools they gave us.
So there was 4 of these, and they literally just twist right out.
You definitely want to take these out before you start torquing these,
Yep.
in the event that it shifts a hair
We got stuck in
and
there.
yeah, it gets you blocked in.
All right.
All right, so we'll put the rest of these studs in and then we'll start snugging it up. The hand tighten everything. We just want to touch the pan with them.
It's like Steve said, we're not cranking down on these. We're just kind of snugging them up a little bit. Then we'll go around and hand tighten them all.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing like that. Am I doing 2 stages here?
I'd probably do, yeah. The second stage, you'll just run around the pan.
So we're gonna kind of crisscross our way, hand tighten these,
Yeah.
and then like Steve said, once we get these
I got that, right?
hand tight, we'll run around the
And on
pan.
this side, he just tightened it. As he's tightening it, watch the grease come out of the gasket a little bit, so we know we have a clean shot here. Getting these snug down, not cranking down on them.
I'm holding the ratchet more to the middle so I don't give
Hold
it
it.
too much leverage.
Yeah, so you don't want to tighten it.
Just with one hand.
There's a lot of beef on that ratchet though, alright? So just let you know.
Which side?
So I just went around, checked the torque one last time. They're all set. So what you want to do is make sure the inside of the pan is clean. There's no debris in there. Brian actually just wiped it out for me. And Steve's going to get ready to put some sealant on it.
Alright, we're getting ready to put like a 1/4 bead of urethane on this thing. This is 3M urethane. I'm a big fan of it.
So the guys at home that have to run to the auto parts store, they can use the black RTV, right, Steve?
Yeah, if you can get urethane in a squeeze tube, man, go for it. It's far better product, especially for these. Cause they got urethane.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, huh?
Nice.
Okay, nice even coverage. Now we're gonna get Brian off his chair and we're gonna tighten this thing up and we'll be good. Alright, there's one.
Okay.
So just catching a couple of bolts by hand.
Yeah, it's nice to have some extra hands on to do this job.
Yeah, it
you
kinda
could
helps.
stick it up there and it'll smear it around, but you know, the urethane, the 1/4 bead is perfect for it. Brian's gonna catch the back too now, and then he can snug this thing up, and we'll put our bell housing cover
Good.
plate back on.
I'll get one
Yeah.
more.
Brenna, this is Brenna's
Steve, can
Jeep.
you hand me 2 of these?
So Brenna does some of my video work for me,
Hear me?
and she's gonna be excited that this is all set. So we're just gonna go around and we're gonna hand tighten the rest of these, and we'll get back to you in a minute. So what we're doing is leaving a little bit of a gap, and we're not gonna push it up into place until all the bolts are in, and we can get a nice even seal on it. Isn't that right, Brian?
Yeah.
That's right there, Tony.
All right, we're gonna push the pan up. Now it's snug. He's gonna catch a couple of bolts snug, and then we're gonna go around, touch them all with the little zip gun to save time, and then we're gonna hand tighten everything.
Just like the process, same process that we did on that intermediate pan, right, Steve?
Yeah, pretty much. This one has urethane, the other one will put a little grease on it.
Yep. So Brian's gonna zip around, hand tighten these. We'll hand tighten them a bit with the gun, and then we'll go back and hand tighten them. Again, we're just using the gun to save a little time. We're not snugging these down yet.
Oh, look at that urethane just oozing right out of there, huh?
Just kissing the pan. Get the back.
There's one in the front left. So Brian's gonna hand tighten these all up now. They're not getting dripped on anymore, it's great.
It's gonna be going crisscross pattern again. And snug all these bolts up around the oil pan. Again, you don't want to crank down on them, just snug them up.
We only put a 1/4 bead silicone on it, I mean of urethane on there, and it's just enough. Just enough. Okay, now we can run around the whole pan on the outside in a circle path.
So you also want to do is make sure your drain plug is tight. Steve, we replaced the oil filter and put a new oil filter in it.
Yep. Do is to push up the transmission line plastic thing here. It just locks
Okay.
up in place on the threads for the transmission line. So now everything's secure. And we're gonna put our bell housing cover back on in the back right now. We have it over here, it's all cleaned up. And there's no sealant or anything required on this. So we're gonna just bolt this thing back up. I got here first, Bri, hold on. I'm gonna catch a couple, 2, 3 bolts, and then they're all the same length. I got them all in my hand right now, that's why I was kind of fumbling. Well, at least they're not just dripping on us anymore, Tony.
Yeah, hopefully it should be all set.
We can run just about all of these in with the air ratchet. We had a little 3/8 flex socket to get one of the bolts out. To be honest with you, with that and the shallow socket, I can get these all run
One more right here.
right up in place.
And
And here,
do you need this, Steve?
yeah, that's the heart of the whole job right there.
Hot?
Starting them all with our fingers like we always do with everything. We don't want to strip anything. And we're gonna put the air ratchet in here. Snug all these up and say goodbye to our oil leak. Check these last 3. 1, 2, that was my knuckle. 3. Okay.
All we have left to do is, after we're done snugging these up, get the oil filter back on. We're gonna make sure that pan bolt is tight, and then we're gonna put 6 quarts of 520 in it. This has the 3.8 in it. You guys should have the same one. If you have any questions, you leave a comment and we'll reply back to you.